Ambassador Hyanwu stepped through the massive silver doors of the Galactic Council chamber. The room was huge, bigger than any stadium on Earth. His footsteps echoed as he walked across the polished floor that seemed to glow with its own light. Above him, the ceiling stretched so high it disappeared into darkness, filled with floating platforms where alien delegates sat watching. The air smelled strange, like burnt metal mixed with something sweet. Hyanwu tried not to show his nervousness as hundreds of alien eyes turned toward him. Some had 6 eyes, others had none at all. A few glowed red in the dim light. "This is it," he whispered to himself, straightening his dark blue Earth uniform. The small recording device on his chest was hidden beneath his jacket. Everything that happened here would be sent back to Earth. The crystalline podium in the center of the room was taller than a building. Council leader Vexera sat at the top, her insect-like body gleaming under the strange lights. Her forearms moved constantly, and her multiple eyes never stopped blinking. She was the most powerful being in the known galaxy. "State your business," human Vexera's voice boomed through hidden speakers. It sounded like grinding glass mixed with a whisper. Hyanwu cleared his throat. His voice needed to be strong now. "Honored Council, I am Ambassador Hyanwu of Earth. My planet formally requests membership in the Galactic Federation." The reaction was instant. A sound like breaking glass filled the chamber as alien voices erupted in what could only be laughter. The Vorthan delegate's purple tentacles slapped against his platform as he shook with amusement. His species looked like giant squids, but their intelligence was legendary. Did this creature just ask to join us? The Vorthon wheezed between laughs. "Look at it. It has only 2 arms and walks on 2 legs like a baby." More laughter echoed through the chamber. The crystalline collective's representative, a being made entirely of living diamond, chimed like broken bells. "I have studied their species. They live barely 100 years. We have coffee breaks longer than their entire civilization." Hyanwu felt heat rise in his cheeks but kept his face calm. He had trained for this moment for 10 years. Earth's leaders had warned him that aliens would be hostile, but the reality was worse than anything he had imagined. Lixara raised one of her clawed hands, and the laughter died down. "Human, let me explain something to you. Your species has barely mastered fusion power. We have records of your wars, your pollution, your primitive technology. You cannot even leave your own solar system without chemical rockets that explode half the time." A new voice joined in. The hegemony representative was a massive creature covered in scales, with teeth like daggers. "Their weapons are projectiles and explosives. They fight with metal bullets. My people conquered 17 star systems with weapons they cannot even imagine. But we have learned much in recent years," Hyanwu said, trying to keep control of the conversation. "We have developed new technologies, new ways of thinking. We believe we can contribute to the galactic community." The chamber erupted in even louder laughter. A delegate who looked like a floating brain in a glass sphere pulsed with bright colors. "Contribute? You lack psychic abilities, dimensional awareness, energy manipulation, time dilation technology, quantum consciousness transfer, or even basic matter reconstruction capabilities." Another alien, this one looking like a walking tree with eyes, added his voice. "Their fastest ships would take thousands of years to reach the nearest star. They communicate with radio waves like we did 1,000,000 years ago. They are technological infants." Vexora's eyes focused on Hyanwu like laser beams. "Human, what could your primitive species possibly offer to a galaxy filled with civilizations that have mastered the fundamental forces of the universe?" Hyo took a deep breath. This was the moment he had prepared for. "We offer our determination, our ability to adapt and survive against impossible odds. We offer our creativity and our willingness to fight for what we believe in." The hegemony representative's laughter was like thunder. "Determination, creativity. Your entire civilization could be erased by a single one of our dreadnoughts. We have ships longer than your largest cities, weapons that can crack planets in half, and shields that could deflect your sun's energy. Return to your little blue world," called out another voice from the darkness above. "Perhaps in 1,000 years, when you have evolved beyond throwing rocks at each other, you might be worthy of cleaning our starships." The voting began immediately. Holographic displays showed the results in real time. Every single vote was the same: denied, rejected, refused. 847 votes against Earth's membership, 0 in favor. Hyanwu watched the numbers with a sinking heart, but also with growing anger. These beings saw humans as nothing more than smart animals. They had no idea what humanity was truly capable of. "The vote is final," Vexara announced. "Earth's request for membership is denied. Human, Return to your world and do not waste our time again until your species has achieved actual civilization." As Hyenwu turned to leave, the laughter followed him. Alien voices called out insults and jokes about the primitive human who thought he could join the big leagues. He walked slowly, with dignity, even as his heart burned with rage at the chamber doors. He touched a small communicator hidden in his collar. The device was so advanced that none of the aliens had detected it, despite all their superior technology. "Taman," he whispered, "they've made their choice. They see us as nothing more than animals." 50,000 light-years away, deep beneath Earth's Pacific Ocean, Director Taman received a message in a facility that officially did not exist. Around him, massive machines hummed with power drawn from dimensions the Galactic Council had never even discovered. "Copy that," Hyenwu Taman replied, his voice calm despite the magnitude of what was about to begin. "They laughed at us. Now they'll learn why that was a mistake. We proceed with Phase 2. 6 months had passed since the humiliation at the Galactic Council. Earth had tried to continue normal life, but everyone knew something bad was coming. The news channels talked about strange signals from deep space. Military bases around the world went on high alert. People looked up at the night sky with worry in their hearts. Then it happened. The first ships appeared over Seoul at dawn. They came down through the clouds like falling mountains, their hulls black as night and covered in pulsing red lights. Each vessel was the size of a city, casting shadows that turned day into twilight. The air itself seemed to vibrate as their massive engines hummed with alien power. Commander Jinho stood in the orbital defense station high above Earth's atmosphere. He had been a fighter pilot for 15 years before taking command of humanity's most advanced space defenses. Through the reinforced windows, he watched his railgun platforms target the approaching enemy fleet. "All stations, this is command." Jinho spoke into his headset. "Fire on my mark. Target their lead ships." The railgun platforms were Earth's pride and joy. Each one could fire projectiles at incredible speeds, fast enough to punch through solid steel like it was paper. They had cost billions of dollars and taken decades to build. "Firing now," came the reply from Platform Alpha. Streams of metal projectiles shot through space toward the alien ships. Jinho held his breath, hoping against hope that human technology might surprise these invaders. The projectiles hit the alien shields and simply vanished. Not bounced off, not deflected. They disappeared completely, like they had never existed at all. "What the hell?" whispered Sergeant Wu Jin from his targeting station. Before anyone could respond, beams of pure red energy lanced out from the alien ships. The first beam hit Platform Alpha, and the entire structure simply melted away. 300 people and 20 years of human engineering gone in 2 seconds. Platform Beta, evasive maneuvers, Jinho shouted, but it was too late. Another energy beam, this one blue and crackling with electricity, struck Platform Beta. The explosion was so bright that Jinho had to shield his eyes. When the light faded, there was nothing left but drifting debris. "Sir, all platforms are down," reported Lieutenant Boyoung from her communications station. Her voice was shaking. "We've lost contact with orbital defense grid. They're all gone." Jinho slammed his fist against the control panel. Years of preparation, humanity's best technology, and it had lasted less than 5 minutes against the alien attack. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission," Boyoung called out, her hands flying over her controls. "It's coming from the lead alien ship." "Put it on screen," Jinho ordered. The main display flickered to life, showing a face that would haunt Jinho's nightmares forever. Warlord Crickstock of the Hegemony looked like someone's worst imagination of what a demon might look like. His skin was dark red and covered in scales, his eyes burned like coals, and his mouth was full of teeth like broken glass. Bone spikes grew from his skull, and his voice sounded like grinding metal. "Humans of Earth," Crickstock began, his words dripping with contempt. "I am Warlord Crickstock, commander of the Hegemony 3rd Assault Fleet. You have been judged by the powers of this galaxy and found wanting. Your species has been deemed unworthy of existence." Jinho felt his blood turn to ice. This wasn't just an invasion. This was an execution. "You have 72 hours to evacuate your pathetic world before we claim it for the Hegemony," Crickstock continued. "We will strip your planet of all useful resources and turn it into a military outpost. Any resistance will result in the immediate incineration of your major population centers. We have weapons that can turn your cities to glass in seconds." The transmission cut off, leaving the orbital station in stunned silence. Deep beneath Seoul, in a bunker that could survive a direct nuclear hit, President Dong-hin was watching the same transmission with his emergency council. The bunker was built into solid rock, with walls 3 meters thick and its own air supply. Maps of the world covered every surface, showing red dots where alien ships were appearing over major cities. Sir, they have ships over Tokyo, New York, London, Moscow, and every major population center, reported General Siochin, his weathered face grim. Each fleet has at least 50 ships. We're looking at over 2,000 alien vessels. Options, Dong-haen demanded. At 60 years old, he had led Korea through economic crisis and natural disasters. But nothing had prepared him for this. General Siochin shook his head slowly. Our entire nuclear arsenal couldn't scratch their shields. I've seen the reports. From the orbital platforms, their defensive technology is centuries beyond anything we have. Conventional weapons are completely useless. What about biological weapons? Asked Defense Minister Kung Su. We don't even know if they breathe oxygen, replied Dr. Sung-ho, the president's science advisor. For all we know, our deadliest diseases might actually make them stronger. Chemical weapons, same problem. We're dealing with completely unknown alien biology. President Dong-haen looked around the room at the faces of his advisors. These were the smartest, most experienced people in the country, and they all looked defeated before the battle had even begun. That's when Dr. Haijin stepped forward from the back of the room. Dr. Haijin was not like the other advisors. She was younger, maybe 40 years old, and she had been silent during the entire discussion. Her security clearance was so high that most people in the room didn't even know what she did for work. She headed something called the Dimensional Research Division, which officially didn't exist. Sir, she said quietly, there is another option. Project Twilight. The room went completely silent. Everyone had heard whispers, rumors about secret projects and hidden facilities, stories about technology that came from somewhere else. Somewhere, not of this world, but nobody talked about it openly. The dimensional ships, Dong-yin said, his voice barely above a whisper. Are they ready? Dr. Haijin nodded slowly. They've been ready for 50 years. Sir, we've been waiting for this exact moment. General Siochin stared at her in disbelief. Dimensional ships? What are you talking about? In 1947, something crashed in the Nevada desert. Dr. Haijin explained. Not from another planet, from another dimension. We've spent decades learning how to use that technology, building ships that exist partially outside normal space and time. How many ships? The president asked. 30 vessels, sir. Each one more advanced than anything in the alien fleet. They've been hidden in dimensional space, waiting for the day we might need them. President Donghan closed his eyes for a moment, feeling the weight of the decision. If Dr. Haijin was telling the truth, humanity had been keeping the greatest secret in history. If she was wrong, billions of people would die in the next 3 days. Do it, he said finally. Activate Project Twilight. It's time to show these aliens what humans are really capable of. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, in a facility that existed partially outside normal reality, alarms began to sound. Humanity's greatest secret was about to be revealed. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, where no human had ever been supposed to go, Captain Minho walked through corridors that shouldn't exist. The walls around him seemed to shift and shimmer, like looking at something through water. This was because the entire facility existed in multiple dimensions at once, hidden from every sensor and satellite that had ever tried to find it. Minho had been working here for 20 years, but he still got amazed by what humans had built. In secret, the facility was massive, carved out of the ocean floor and powered by energy from dimensions that most scientists didn't even know existed. It was called Deep Station Omega, and it was humanity's greatest secret. He stopped at a thick metal door marked with symbols that hurt to look at directly. These weren't human symbols. They came from the crashed ship in 1947, the one that had changed everything. Minho pressed his hand against the scanner, and the door opened with a sound like breaking glass. Inside was the command center of the USS Transcendence, humanity's first and most powerful dimensional warship. The bridge was circular, with workstations, arranged around a central command chair, but what made it special were the walls. Instead of metal or screens, the walls were made of something that looked like liquid starlight. Through them, Minho could see into other dimensions, other realities where the laws of physics worked differently. Captain Minho called out his first officer Soyoung from her station. She was one of the few people on Earth who truly understood dimensional technology. Her fingers danced over controls that seemed to respond to thought as much as touch. All ships report ready status. The dimensional cores are stable and running at full power. Minho nodded and took his place in the command chair. The chair was made from the same strange material as the crashed ship, and when he sat in it, he could feel the ship's consciousness touching his mind. The Transcendence wasn't just a machine, it was something between a ship and a living creature, powered by forces that existed beyond normal space and time. Status report, Minho ordered. Dimensional engines are online, reported Engineer Jasu. From his station, we're currently existing in 7 dimensions simultaneously, with primary manifestation in normal space locked at 97% concealment. Weapons systems, Minho asked. All dimensional disruptors are charged and ready, replied Weapons Officer Sumin. The reality cannons are at full power, and the quantum torpedoes are armed. Sir, we have enough firepower to crack a moon in half. Minho smiled grimly. The weapons weren't just advanced technology, they used the fundamental forces that held reality together. A dimensional disruptor could fold space around a target, crushing it out of existence. A reality cannon could make something simply stop being real, and quantum torpedoes hit their targets in the past, present, and future all at once. Navigation, show me our position relative to the fleet, Minho commanded. The wall in front of him changed, showing a view that would have driven a normal person insane. He could see the 30 ships of humanity's hidden fleet, but he was seeing them as they existed in all dimensions at once. Some looked like normal spaceships, others looked like geometric shapes that changed constantly. A few looked like they were made of pure light. Fleet Admiral Chang Wu sends his regards from the Prometheus, So-young continued. The Prometheus, Defiance, and Retribution are standing by 4-dimensional emergence. All ships report they are ready to phase into normal space on your command. Minho leaned back in his chair and remembered the stories his grandfather had told him. The old man had been one of the first scientists to examine the crashed ship in the Nevada desert back in 1947. He had spent his entire life trying to understand technology that came from somewhere else entirely. It wasn't from another planet. Minho, his grandfather, had whispered on his deathbed. It was from another dimension, a place where the rules are different, where thought and reality are the same thing. We learned to build ships that could exist in that place and in our world at the same time. The project had taken 78 years. Generation after generation of scientists and engineers had worked in secret, building these ships in hidden facilities around the world. They had used technology that was part alien science and part human innovation. The ships were powered by dimensional cores that tapped into the infinite energy of folded spacetime, Sir So-young said, interrupting his memories. We're receiving the activation signal from Deep Station Command. President Dong Hyen has authorized Project Twilight. We are cleared to engage the alien fleet. Minho felt a chill run down his spine. This was the moment they had all been preparing for, the moment when humanity would reveal that they were not the primitive species the galaxy thought they were. How long until we can emerge? He asked. Dimensional phase shift will take approximately 3 minutes, replied Navigator Haywan. We need to carefully adjust our reality synchronization to avoid tearing holes in spacetime through the dimensional walls. Minho could see the other ships beginning their emergence sequence. The USS Prometheus was the largest, a massive vessel that looked like a cathedral made of metal and starlight. Fleet Admiral Chang Wu commanded that ship, and he was the most experienced dimensional warfare officer in human history. The USS Defiance was built for speed and stealth. It could phase in and out of reality so fast that enemies couldn't even target it. Captain Yunji had trained for 15 years to pilot that ship through dimensions that would tear apart a normal human mind. The USS Retribution was the heavy weapons platform. Its dimensional cannons could fire projectiles that existed in multiple timelines at once, hitting targets before the weapons were even fired. Captain Sungwoo called it shooting yesterday's enemies with tomorrow's bullets. Signal all ships, Minho commanded, his voice steady despite the magnitude of what was about to happen. It's time to show the galaxy what humans are truly capable of. Message sent, Sir So-young replied. All ships acknowledge and are beginning dimensional emergence sequence. Above them, 5 miles of ocean water and 3 dimensions of folded space. Reality began to ripple. The alien fleets hanging over Earth's cities had no idea what was coming. They thought they were facing a primitive species armed with chemical rockets and nuclear weapons, that they were about to learn that humans had been preparing for this war for almost 80 years. Dimensional cores at maximum output, reported Jason. Reality anchors are stable. Beginning phase transition in 30 seconds. Minho gripped the arms of his command chair. In a few moments, the most advanced fleet in human history would emerge from dimensional space to defend their home world. Ships that existed partially outside of time itself were about to engage an alien armada that thought humans were nothing more than clever animals. 10 seconds to emergence. Announced, all stations report ready. Minho took a deep breath. For Earth, he said quietly, dot above them. The ocean began to glow as reality prepared to tear itself apart. Admiral Zakhtar stood on the command deck of his flagship, the Blood Conquest, watching Earth turn slowly below him. The massive alien warship was 3 miles long, its hull covered in weapon ports that could level entire cities. Around him, 2,000 other hegemony vessels floated in perfect formation, their red lights pulsing like the heartbeat of some giant beast. Zakhtar was 7 feet tall, with skin like black leather and eyes that glowed yellow in the dim light of his bridge. He had conquered 47 worlds in his long career, and Earth would be an easy addition to that list. The humans had no real weapons, no shields, no faster-than-light travel. They were insects waiting to be stepped on. Status report, growled, his voice like grinding stone. All fleets are in position. Admiral replied, his tactical officer Subcommander Seoul, Tokyo, New York, London, Moscow, and 12 other major population centers are targeted for immediate bombardment. The humans have made no attempt to evacuate. Zakhtar laughed, a sound like breaking bones. Of course they haven't. They're too stupid to understand what's happening to them. In 12 hours, their pathetic civilization will be nothing but ash and memories. He turned to look at the holographic display showing Earth's orbital space. A few pieces of debris floated where the human defense platforms had been destroyed. Their most advanced weapons had lasted less than 5 minutes against hegemony technology. Admiral, his sensor operator called out, "We're detecting some unusual readings." "What kind of readings?" Zakhtar asked, not really caring. Humans were known for their primitive radio signals and simple electronics. Spatial distortions, so energy signatures that don't match any known technology. The readings are coming from above the major land. Zakhtar waved a clawed hand dismissively. Probably their death throes. These primitives are known for their theatrics. Maybe they're setting off their nuclear weapons in space, hoping to damage our ships. But then something strange began to happen. The stars themselves seemed to twist and bend above Earth's major cities. Space started to ripple like water, creating patterns that hurt to look at directly. "Admiral, the spatial distortions are getting stronger," the sensor operator reported, his voice rising with concern. "I'm reading energy levels that shouldn't be possible. It's like space itself is being torn apart." Zakhtar moved to the sensor station, his yellow eyes narrowing as he studied the readings. What he saw there made his blood run cold. The energy signatures were off the charts, higher than anything in the hegemony's vast database of weapons and technology. "What in the name of the dark void is that?" he whispered. Then space itself began to tear. It started as small cracks in reality, lines of brilliant white light that appeared above Earth's cities. The cracks spread like breaking glass, and through them came something that made Zakhtar's mind struggle to understand what he was seeing. Ships emerged from the dimensional rifts, but they were unlike anything in the known galaxy. The first one to fully appear was massive, easily as large as Zakhtar's flagship, but it seemed to exist in multiple dimensions at once. Its hull shimmered and shifted, sometimes looking like metal, sometimes like liquid starlight, sometimes like it was made of compressed space itself. "Impossible," Zakhtar breathed, staring at his tactical displays. "The readings show it's existing in normal space and 7 other dimensions simultaneously. How do these primitives possess dimensional technology?" The USS Transcendence completed its emergence, its hull stabilizing into something that looked almost normal but still bent light around it in impossible ways. Behind it came more ships, each one emerging from tears in reality itself. The USS Prometheus appeared like a floating cathedral made of metal and energy. The USS Defiance flickered in and out of existence so fast it was barely visible. The USS Retribution emerged with weapons that seemed to exist in multiple timelines at once. "Admiral, I'm counting 30 human vessels," Subcommander reported, his voice shaking. "Each one is showing energy readings higher than our entire fleet combined." On the bridge of the Transcendence, Captain Minho sat in his command chair, feeling the ship's dimensional awareness flowing through his mind. Through the ship's sensors, he could see the alien fleet clearly. 2,000 vessels that had seemed so powerful just moments ago now looked primitive and clumsy compared to humanity's dimensional technology. "Open a channel to the alien fleet," Minho ordered. "Channel open," Sir So-young replied. Minho's voice carried across space to every ship in the hegemony armada. "Alien vessels, this is Captain Minho of the Earth Dimensional Fleet. You came to our world thinking we were defenseless primitives. You were wrong. You have 30 seconds to withdraw from our system, or learn why humanity was never meant to be underestimated. On the Blood Conquest, Zakthar stared at the transmission in complete shock. The human's voice was calm, confident, and carried the authority of someone who held overwhelming power. This wasn't the frightened pleading of a defeated species. This was the voice of a predator giving its prey one last chance to run. How, Zakthar whispered, looking at the impossible readings on his sensors. How do they have ships that exist in multiple dimensions? We've never encountered technology like this, not even from the ancient civilizations. Admiral, what are your orders? Vexter asked, but his voice showed he already knew the answer. Zakthar looked around his bridge at the faces of his crew. These were hardened warriors who had conquered dozens of worlds, but now they looked terrified. The humans hadn't just revealed advanced technology, they had revealed technology that was beyond anything the hegemony could understand or fight against. Time's up. Minho's voice came over the communication channel. What happened next would be talked about in whispers throughout the galaxy for centuries to come. The Transcendence fired its dimensional disruptor, a weapon that folded space around its target. 3 hegemony dreadnoughts, each one carrying 10,000 warriors, simply ceased to exist. They weren't destroyed or blown up. They were erased from reality itself, folded out of existence at the subatomic level. Evasive maneuvers. Zakthar screamed, but it was too late. The USS Prometheus fired its reality cannon at a cluster of hegemony cruisers. The weapon hit them and simply made them stop being real. One moment they were there, the next moment they had never existed at all. The space where they had been was completely empty, not even debris remaining. The USS Retribution launched quantum torpedoes that hit their targets in the past, present, and future simultaneously. Hegemony ships exploded before the weapons were even fired, destroyed by attacks that came from multiple timelines at once. All ships, retreat, Zakthar ordered, his voice breaking with terror. Full power to engines. Get us out of this system, now. The hegemony fleet scattered like frightened animals, their faster-than-light drives screaming to life as they desperately tried to escape. Ships that had seemed invincible just minutes ago now fled in panic from technology they couldn't understand or fight. But the human ships didn't pursue them. They simply watched as the alien armada retreated to the outer edges of the solar system. Their mission to conquer Earth completely abandoned. Let them go, Minho ordered as his weapons officer asked for permission to continue the attack. Let them tell the rest of the galaxy what they saw here today. As the last alien ship disappeared into hyperspace, Earth's cities looked up to see 30 impossible vessels floating in their skies. Ships that existed in multiple dimensions, powered by forces beyond normal physics, crewed by humans who had spent decades preparing for this exact moment. The age of humanity, thinking they were alone and defenseless, was over. The galaxy was about to learn that Earth had been keeping secrets for almost 80 years, and those secrets had teeth. 1 month after the Battle of Earth, the Galactic Council chamber looked exactly the same, but everything had changed. The massive crystalline walls still gleamed with alien light, and the floating platforms still held delegates from across the galaxy. But now, when these powerful beings looked at the human ambassador walking across the polished floor, their eyes showed something they had never felt before when looking at a human: fear. Ambassador Hyanwu walked with confident steps, his Earth uniform crisp and clean. Behind him walked 2 figures that made every alien in the chamber nervous. Fleet Admiral Changwu wore the deep blue uniform of the Earth Dimensional Fleet, with stars on his shoulders that represented battles fought in dimensions most aliens couldn't even imagine. Dr. Haijin walked beside him, carrying a simple briefcase that contained technical specifications that would give any military scientist nightmares. The news of Earth's hidden fleet had spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Every species with access to quantum communication networks had heard the story. The primitive humans, the ones who had been laughed out of the council chambers, had revealed technology that made the most advanced civilizations look like children, playing with toys. The Vorthan delegate, whose tentacles had writhed with laughter just a month ago, now kept his purple appendages perfectly still. His species had run detailed scans of the dimensional rifts that had appeared over Earth, and their scientists were still trying to understand how matter could exist in 7 dimensions. Simultaneously, the crystalline collective's representative, a being made of living diamond, had stopped chiming completely. Their entire civilization was built on manipulating light and energy. But the humans had shown weapons that manipulated reality itself. They had no idea how to defend against technology that could make their ships stop existing. That's Haiyan-Wu approached the central podium. He could feel the tension in the chamber. Every alien present was remembering the footage from the Battle of Earth. Hegemony dreadnoughts simply vanishing from existence. Weapons that hit targets in multiple timelines at once. It's ships that could phase in and out of reality so fast that sensors couldn't track them. Honored Council, Haiyan-Wu began, his voice carrying the same calm authority as before, but now it carried additional weight. Everyone in the chamber knew that 30-dimensional warships hung in orbit above their world, invisible to their sensors, but undoubtedly present. Earth acknowledges your revised invitation to join the Galactic Federation. Council leader Vexera shifted uncomfortably in her biomechanical chair. Her forearms moved nervously, and her multiple eyes blinked rapidly. For the first time in her 1,000-year reign as council leader, she was dealing with a species that could potentially destroy her entire civilization. Ambassador, she said carefully, her voice much more respectful than before, we had no knowledge of humanity's advanced capabilities. Perhaps we were hasty in our initial assessment. Haiyan-Wu smiled, but it wasn't a friendly smile. It was the smile of someone who remembered every insult, every laugh, every moment of humiliation from his previous visit. Oh, but you were quite clear, he said, his voice cutting through the chamber like a blade. We were barely evolved primates, remember, unworthy of even cleaning your exact words, I believe, were that our entire civilization could be erased by a single dreadnought. The chamber was silent enough to hear a pin drop. Delegates who had been so confident and arrogant a month ago now looked down at their platforms, unable to meet the humans' gaze. The hegemony representative, Haiyan-Wu continued, suggested that we might be worthy of cleaning your ships in 1,000 years. After we had evolved beyond throwing rocks at each other. From the gallery, several hegemony survivors from the Battle of Earth shifted nervously. Admiral Zakthar himself was present, his yellow eyes dulled with the memory of watching his fleet scattered like leaves in a storm. His report to the council had been simple. The humans possess technology that makes our most advanced weapons look like children's toys. They could have destroyed our entire fleet in minutes. Instead, they let us flee to deliver this message. However, Haiyan-Wu continued, his voice softening slightly, humanity is not without mercy. We understand that mistakes were made, judgments were passed without full knowledge of the facts. We are willing to move forward, to build a better future for all species in the galaxy. The relief in the chamber was almost visible. Many delegates had been expecting the humans to demand revenge, to use their overwhelming technological advantage to become the new galactic rulers. We will join your federation, Haiyan-Wu announced, but on our terms. Earth demands a permanent seat on the High Council, with full voting rights on all matters affecting galactic security and trade. We demand the right to establish human colonies on any uninhabited worlds we choose, without interference from other species. Council leader Vexera nodded quickly. Of course, Ambassador, these seem like reasonable requests. Furthermore, Haiyan-Wu continued, we demand a formal apology for the hegemony's attempted genocide of the human species, an acknowledgement that this council's inaction enabled that attempted genocide. We also demand reparations for the damage done to Earth's orbital infrastructure during the attack. The chamber erupted in whispered conversations as delegates discussed these demands, but everyone knew there was no real choice. The humans had proven they could defend themselves against any threat, and their technology was so advanced that attempting to fight them would be suicide. From his position in the gallery, Fleet Admiral Changwu watched with satisfaction as the most powerful beings in the galaxy bowed to human demands. His weathered face showed the hint of a smile as he remembered the years of preparation, the decades of secret construction, the countless hours spent training crews to operate ships that existed in multiple dimensions. Beside him, Dr. Hajin whispered, think they've learned their lesson. Changwu chuckled quietly. They laughed at us once. They'll never make that mistake again. The voting began immediately, but this time it was different. Instead of the casual dismissal of humanity's first request, every delegate voted with careful consideration. The holographic displays showed the results in real time, but everyone already knew what they would be. The vote was unanimous, 847 in favor, 0 against. But this time, the unanimous vote was in favor of accepting humanity into the Galactic Federation with full honors and privileges. Not only that, but the Council voted to create a new category of membership, Dimensional Protectorate status, which gave Earth the right to intervene in any galactic conflict that threatened the stability of space-time itself. As Haiyan-Wu signed, The treaty that would reshape galactic politics forever. He thought of all the humans who had worked in secret for decades to reach this moment. Scientists who had spent their entire careers studying alien technology. Engineers who had built ships that shouldn't exist. Military officers who had trained for battles in dimensions that most people couldn't even imagine. They had never sought the galaxy's acceptance. They had simply ensured they would never need it. In orbit above the Council world, invisible to every sensor and scanner, the USS Transcendence and her sister ships maintained their silent vigil. Captain Minho sat in his command chair watching the proceedings through dimensional sensors that could see through solid matter and across multiple realities simultaneously. Sir So-young reported from her station. The treaty has been signed. We are now officially members of the Galactic Federation. Minho nodded slowly, signaled the fleet. We're going home. As the dimensional ships prepared to return to Earth, Minho thought about what this meant for humanity's future. They were no longer a small, isolated species on the edge of the galaxy. They were now players in the greatest game of all, the politics and power struggles of an entire galaxy. The age of human expansion had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same. The end.